Welcome, everyone, to this episode of Productive Environment Podcast. I am Andrea Anderson, CEO of Productive Environment Institute, and I'm here in Carolina Beach, North Carolina. And I'm going to talk to you today about something that is quite interesting and intriguing. A lot of times when we are overwhelmed and unfocused and feeling unproductive, which a lot of our clients feel often, a lot of times they identify it as email, like, oh, I'm overloaded with email. Email is the problem. So let me come on screen with you for a second. And so email is a problem. It can be a problem for many people, especially business owners, professionals, and people, really anybody that has to deal with information. If you're caring for a loved one, or taking care of aging parents, or you're responsible for someone, you've got information coming to you from all different directions. And so email gets overloaded in the paper world. Barbara is the paper tiger lady. She's been taming the paper tiger for many, many years. So in the paper physical world, that it looks like piles of paper on your desk or on your kitchen counter or on your kitchen table. And in the email world, it's email after email after email, just piling up and stressing you out. So, and so we have lots of different tools. If you go on YouTube and you Google or search on YouTube for, how to deal with email, you will get so many different things. You need to use this app, or you need to use this tool, or you need to use this. And there are so many things. And one of the things that I think sets Productive Environment Institute apart is that we don't recommend a specific tool. We will tell you what we use, and that may change over time, but it's the system that matters. It's the system that makes it work. And so I want to share with you a little bit about what that looks like in a couple of slides. And as I said, if you are somebody that's overwhelmed with email, you might think that email is the big problem, and the time management. Oh, I don't have enough time. I need better time management skills, and all those things may be true. But I want to talk to you about what email represents. And again, if you are a business owner, if you are a professional, or you are someone who is caring for someone, you have children, you have information that's coming to you in multiple formats. Email is just one of them. Okay. So what does the email represent? The email represents things to do. It represents appointments to make, people to connect with. And it could represent just holding on to something for future reference because it looks good, it looks interesting, and you want to use it in the future. But interestingly, email is not the only way these things come to you, right? So we have other ways. Do you have a phone? Do you have a cell phone? I'm sure you do. And so things come to you through a phone call. Hey, can you do this for me? Hey, can you meet me here? So those are more things. Or, hey, here's some information you might want to keep for future reference. And that's coming through a phone call. Or it could come through a text. Do any of you get text messages, SMS? Like, hey, can you do this? Hey, can you do that? Hey, did you know? So this is more information coming to you. And then there's the direct messengers, the messaging apps like Telegram or Facebook Messenger or WhatsApp, or all. There's a zillion of them, right? So there's another place that information is coming to you, or tasks are coming to you, or appointments are coming to you through those. Now let's look over on the other side and see other ways. Okay, on the physical side, we're getting mail. We're still getting mail, right? You guys, did you check your mail this week? Or well, yesterday was a holiday. So check your mail today. You probably have some things in there. You have some paper in there. So that's coming to you. And maybe you open something in the mail and it's like, oh, you need to do this. You need to send us this. You need to sign this. So then that's another way that tasks, projects, appointments, or say for future reference is coming into you, correct? And then of course there's the printer. So if you still have a printer and if you look around your desk, look around your office, your desk, and you see paper, some of that you may have printed yourself. You brought that in, right? Maybe you got an email that you didn't want to forget about, so you printed it out and then put it on the side of your desk. and it's piling up with other things that got printed out along with your mail and along with other things that you've already had, right? So what else? It could be a conversation, an actual face-to-face conversation with someone, and they say, hey, can you do this for me? Or hey, here's some information, or hey, let's meet. So again, that's a conversation that leads to something that needs to be done or saved or something. And then of course there's the ideas. So that little light bulb, I added that later after I created this, because it's like, oh my gosh, we bring ourselves new things to do, new people we want to reach out to or connect with. So ideas, where, all of these tools are not the problem, right? These tools are, it's modern technology and it's bringing information to us. And the problem comes when we don't know what to do with it. We don't know where it goes. It doesn't have anywhere to flow to. We talk about that in our office transformation boot camp, that we need to have a flow. The information, the physical information that comes in, it needs to flow somewhere in order to get acted upon or just saved for future reference. And it's the same thing with the digital. Now, before I go to the next slide, imagine, if you will, I'm pretty sure most of you might have, you at least have one phone, maybe two, but probably no more than that, right? If you have maybe two cell phones, for me, I don't know, some people have two cell phones. And then the same thing with text messages. But a lot of us have multiple instant messaging, right? Different accounts you're part of. And how many of you have more than one email account? More than one email account? I actually have 3 different email addresses, but I have them funneled into one account. And we have clients that have 3 and 4 and 5 and 7 and 10 different email accounts. So imagine that coming in, and then just that multiplies. Now, if that's what they want and they have a reason for that, that's okay. We could work with that because we can create a system around that. But if it's just random, a lot of our clients have added new email accounts because they ran out of free space in one account. And so they created a new one. And so then they created a new one. And now they have all these multiple emails. And so we have to kind of reel those in and figure out a plan for those in order to take action. So let's take a look at, well, as I mentioned, all of these things represent different things. It could represent a task or a project, right? A phone call, email comes in, hey, do this, hey, do that, hey, sign here, hey, send this, right? Or it could represent an appointment. So these are actions. Like something comes in, or you get an idea, or you print something off, and it's an action. It's like, okay, I need to do something. So it's either going to be a task or a project or an appointment, right? And then the other side is save for future reference. So maybe it's notes. Maybe you just want to jot down a note and save it. You might have a physical notebook. I actually have a physical notebook sitting next to me that I have with me at all times. It could be contact information you want to save because you want to be able to get back to that person. And that could be in any format, physical or digital. And then it could be things you want to save for future reference that are paper. They are printed out. Either you printed the email yourself, or you got something in the mail, or you typed a document yourself. We have a lot of authors that are clients, that are authors and speakers, and they type and print information that they want to keep in the physical form. And so you want to have some physical files for that. And then of course there's digital files. So if you don't need it in physical form and you just want to keep it on your computer, and then again, that could be multiple drives, right? That could be, your computer hard drive. It could be a cloud drive. It could be iCloud or Google Drive or Dropbox, and then, multiples of those as well. And then that's where things get a little bit complicated. So basically, the reason I'm sharing all this with you is these things are kind of haphazard. They feel disconnected. It's like, oh, I have a phone that I have to deal with. Oh, I have lots of email that I have to deal with. But we don't really think about it in terms of a system, that this is a system of communication, of communicating things that need to become tasks or projects, appointments, or saved for future reference in some way, right? And so we pull all that together, and let's take a look at the tasks and projects. And here's a tip for you. This is one of the things that we teach, that when you're writing out your to-do list, use verbs, use action words as the first word. So do this, call this person, reply to this email, research this, review this, delegate this, create this, and write this. And of course, this, you fill in the blank with whatever it is that you're doing. Because if you just put down, if you're creating a to-do list and you just write down, for me, like for example, this podcast, if I just wrote down podcast or email for this week or class, that doesn't tell me what the action is. I need to get in the headspace to prepare for that task. So if I say prepare for podcast, or set up the technology for the podcast, which thankfully I have Eds to do that. I'll have to do that part. But create the slides. So create slides for podcast, write article for this week, things like that. So that's a tip. Just if you look at your to-do list and put a verb in front of it, if you have a list. And then on the appointment side, you're either going to do something at a specific time, right? It's time-based, date-based, or you're going to meet with someone at a specific time, which could be yourself. You could put appointments with yourself on the calendar also to get some work done. So this is kind of your action system. Okay. So when these things come in, you want to filter them down into, is this something I need to do, or someone I need to meet with? Or is it something I want to save for future reference? And it can be a note, contact information, physical files or digital files. So these words work interchangeably on the right side. So save, keep, file, reference. They all mean the same thing. Like you don't need to do anything with it right now, but you want to keep it for future reference in case you need it. Okay. So that's kind of the picture of our, the people that we work with, our clients, ourselves. This is the picture of information is coming in, and what happens is things pile up either in their email inbox or in your messenger app or on your desk because you don't have anywhere to put it, or any, to take it to the next step. So we actually use an acronym for the word SOAR, which means systemize, organize, activate, so you can relate. Okay, so systemize is systemizing a way that information is coming into you. Create a system for the information coming into you. Organize it in a way that it either gets acted upon or you can find it when you need it, right? And then activate, so systemize, organize, activate. The letter A is for taking action. And then so you can relate, mean that's the relationships. That's where, why are you doing any of the things that you're doing? That's where you're relating with your clients, or your prospects, or your family, or the medical people in charge of the people that you're caring for. So systemize, organize, activate, so you can relate. And these are the types of things that we cover in Productive Environment Institute. And so I want to invite you all to an upcoming webinar that we have, and it is called Less Digital Clutter, More Life, because a lot of that stuff is coming in and it's clutter. And Barbara Hemphill says clutter is postponed decisions. So we're going to talk more in depth about what I just shared with you today on the webinar. So there it is on the screen, productiveenvironment.com/webinar. Be sure you're registered for that. We will go into more detail, and we will share some of the things that we use. Again, I don't think we will tell you that there's a specific software or tool or email or to-do app or task manager or calendar that you, quote, should use. We want to know, what will you use, what works for your situation, and we will share what we use and why. But what we use doesn't necessarily mean it's what you should use. It's the putting it all together into a customized system for you that will work for the information that you're in charge of and the things that you're responsible for doing. So that is all I have for you today. I'm going to check the comments over here. And if you guys have anything to add and you're watching this a little bit later on, please feel free to post. Kathy Music with New Path Productivity says life can feel complicated and overwhelming, but it doesn't have to. Exactly. Thank you, Kathy. Join the webinar. Yeah, I mean, all of those things they can feel complicated and overwhelming. And in fact, I was sharing these with someone last week, and they got really, really overwhelmed. They're like, oh my God, this is a lot. But it's the reality. This is literally a picture of our reality right now. I mean, I didn't even put on there social media, or other than the messaging apps or videos or all the other things that we take a look at. and the information that comes into us. So we think of them all separately, but when we put them all together, and the reason that they're in our lives is to bring us communication with someone or something, right? That we're communicating about something, or we needed to do something with it. It becomes a project or something like that. And what we need is a system. We don't need a cool new app or a cool new tool, although we do have some, which are really awesome, and we'll share them with you. And they can help you put that together, put together a customized system for you. But it's the system. And the last thing I'll share about that is we use the acronym for system is saving you space, time, energy, and money. It's right there on the screen. Thank you, Eds. Saving you space, time, energy, and money. That's the purpose of a system. So again, it's not the tool, it's not the app, it's not the guru, it's the system. And so we are going to go further into that on our upcoming webinar. So be sure you register for that webinar. And with that, I am going to end this episode of Productive Environment Podcast. Thanks for joining us.